Okay, so let's dive right into this. We're talking about China's incredibly ambitious plan to use artificial intelligence to reshape, well, everything. Not just its own economy, but maybe even the entire world. And they're doing it with a totally unique approach. This isn't about playing catch up anymore. It's about setting the rules for the future.
And the sheer scale here, it's just staggering. We're looking at a market that's projected to grow by nearly 33% every single year. That's an economic explosion fueled by code. But, and this is a big but, there's a huge catch.
Right. So, how on earth do you build a world class AI ecosystem when you're literally cut off from the most powerful hardware? US export rules have blocked China from getting those top of the line chips that are powering all the big models in the West. And that one constraint is forcing them into a really fascinating and, frankly, radical new strategy. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll see how China is basically changing the rules of the AI race. Then we'll meet the key players, the big, established giants and the super aggressive tigers. After that, we'll dig into Beijing's master plan for total self-sufficiency, what their real goal of industrial AI looks like. And finally, we'll ask the big question. Is this the blueprint for a new global standard? Okay, so because of that hardware blockade, Chinese AI labs had to basically rip up the old playbook. Instead of the bigger is always better approach of just throwing more and more computing power at a problem, they've become completely obsessed with efficiency, cost effectiveness. They're trying to build smarter models, not just bigger ones. And this really shows you what that looks like in practice. The key thing to see here is the mixture of experts architecture, or MOE. Think of it like this. Instead of having one single genius trying to solve every problem, you have a whole team of specialized experts. When a question comes in, you only wake up the relevant experts. This makes the whole process incredibly efficient, letting them squeeze way more performance out of less powerful chips. It's a direct, clever answer to those GPU limits. And the results of this focus on efficiency are, well, they're kind of mind-blowing. Just look at the cost difference. A top-tier Chinese model like DeepSeek R1, it can be trained for less than $6 million. Meanwhile, its Western rivals are costing billions. This isn't just a small improvement. It's a completely different economic model for how you even build AI. And this chart right here proves that the strategy is actually working. You can see that these open-weight Chinese models, where the developers make the inner workings public so everyone can innovate faster, they're performing right up there with the best proprietary models in the world. They're proving that smart design can absolutely compete with raw brute force power. So who's actually building these things? Well, right now, China's AI scene is pretty much split into two major camps. You've got the established tech giants that you've probably heard of, and then there's this new aggressive pack of startups they're calling the AI tigers. The giants, we're talking Baidu, Tencent, they're playing to their strengths. They're embedding AI right into their super apps like WeChat, which, hundreds of millions of people already use every day. But then you have the tigers, companies like DeepSeek and Moonshot. They're the ones pushing the envelope, driving innovation with open-weight models and brand new features, basically forcing the giants to keep up. And one of the most game-changing things to come out of this whole scene is the rise of AI agents. Now, let's be clear, these are not just another chatbot. An AI agent like the system OpenClaw can actually perform complex tasks for you all on its own. We're talking organizing your files, sending emails, running analysis across different programs. It's a massive leap toward real automation. And this boom led to something people are calling the OpenClaw crisis. In early 2026, these agents just exploded in popularity, creating a whole wave of one-person companies. Local governments even started throwing money at them. But then, boom, just a month later, Beijing slammed on the brakes, banning their use in state companies because they were terrified of the data security risks. This timeline just perfectly shows that core tension in China, this incredible push for innovation versus the state's absolute demand for control. So how does the state plan to solve that tension and, get around its hardware problems? Well, it's a massive top-down plan for something they call full sovereignty. Basically, complete self-reliance in every single part of the AI ecosystem. And make no mistake, this is not some side project. This is the absolute heart of the country's economic future. The government's master plan, the 15th five-year plan, literally calls AI the main engine for rebuilding the entire economy. This is an all-in bet at the highest possible level. To make that happen, job number one is hardware independence.
And this chart just shows you the insane scale of that effort. Huawei is aiming to ship 750,000 of its Ascend chips. And notice they're designed for efficient inference. That's the part where you actually use the AI. It's all about making it super cheap to deploy this technology on a massive scale.
At the same time they're building the hardware, Beijing is also building the world's most comprehensive rulebook for AI. And the key here is it's all about control and security. All AI content has to be labeled, both with stuff you can see and with hidden digital watermarks. Plus, if you're working in a sensitive area, you have to pass a government ethics review. It's like they're building a very tightly controlled sandbox for AI to develop in.
So, you've got the homegrown hardware and the strict rules, but what's the ultimate goal? Where is all this effort pointed? Well, the answer is totally different from the West. For China, the endgame isn't just winning the chatbot race. It's about dominating the physical world with industrial AI. We're talking about embedding intelligence into every factory, every robot, every supply chain.
And this isn't just wishful thinking. The government is mandating this change with incredibly aggressive targets. As you can see, the AI Plus plan calls for 70% of key industries to be using AI by 2027, and a whopping 90% by 2030. This isn't gradual change. This is a state-directed, top-to-bottom fusion of code and concrete.
Now, you might be thinking, can they really pull that off? Well, China's biggest advantage is that the foundation is already there. We are talking about more than 30,000 smart factories that are already up and running across the country. This isn't some future dream. It's an existing industrial base on a scale that pretty much no one else on the planet can match. It's the perfect launchpad. And this slide, this right here, is the secret sauce to their entire strategy. Those 30,000 plus smart factories, they aren't just making stuff. They are generating an unbelievable amount of unique, real-world data about industry, data on efficiency, materials, robotics, and all of that data gets fed right back into their specialized AI models, creating this powerful physical feedback loop. It lets them train and perfect their industrial AI at a speed nobody else can, and it's helping them close the performance gap with US models fast, as you can see right here. So, when you put all these pieces together, the focus on efficiency, the state control, the deep link to industry, a much bigger question starts to take shape. Is China actually building a fundamentally different and maybe even rival blueprint for the future of AI? So let's just recap the key parts of this unique model. First, they get around hardware limits with these super efficient open-weight models. Second, they use that efficiency to make AI cheap to run so they can deploy it on a massive nationwide scale. Third, they're laser-focused on the real, physical world of industry, not just the digital one. And finally, this whole engine is guided and contained by strict top-down government control. And the economic stakes here are just immense. By 2030, the value of all these AI-related industries is expected to hit 10 trillion yuan. That's about $1.5 trillion US dollars. This is an economy-defining bet. And the final goal here isn't just to dominate at home. By 2030, the plan is to export this entire model. Think Chinese-built autonomous factories, industrial robots, and even the safety rules they're writing. The goal isn't just to win the AI race. It's to write the rulebook for how the whole world uses AI in the next industrial revolution. Which leaves us with one final and really crucial question. In a world that's struggling with how to handle AI, will this state-led, industry-first model, a model born from necessity but now being scaled with incredible ambition, end up becoming the new global standard? That is something the entire world is about to find out.